we are starting a really big project, and this is Maelle from Expedition 33. I will be hopefully competing in a cosplay competition with this one, so I will be putting a serious effort into it, and I will let you know everything that I have done so far and where we currently are. I tried to get it to a good starting point for the video, and let's get started. Okay guys, so I'm starting with the pattern for her cape plate. You can kind of see it behind me. So I'm gonna actually start from a shirt block, and I'm gonna work from this to shape it into that. It only has one sleeve to start. I gotta make sure I do this on the correct side, because otherwise that's gonna be like really bad. Alright guys, I am pretty much done with the custom patterns that I was making for this cosplay. So there's 4 different patterns we're combining for this cosplay. So the pre-made patterns I'll be using are, I have this for Maelle's shirt. I will just be using this shirt piece. This is what this looks like. And the reason why I'm doing the pants this way and not digitally is because I am not very well versed on pants. I've sewn maybe 2 pairs of pants that came out pretty bad. So, well, they came out okay. So that's gonna be kind of a challenge. Yeah, the digital patterns I made, so I will show you guys around. So here is the skirt pattern. You can see the buttons here for this. But if you take a look around, this is what it looks like. It's not really a skirt, it just kind of goes over her pants. The pink layer is the lining. I just added that because I wanted to test what the weight and stuff of it would look like. There is no waistband, but I needed something to hold it up on the mannequin, otherwise it would just fall down. 8 hours, this was tricky. But here's her cape. So she has a piece that goes over the shoulder here. And then she has, there's a lot of parts. I don't know if you guys can see, yeah, you can see all this. There's a lot of parts that go into this cape. It's very detailed. Lining's gonna have to be done in like different layers, and it's probably gonna be a lot of work, honestly. So I'm gonna start cutting patterns, and that's it. And then we'll get started on the mock-ups and hope for the best. I'm feeling pretty good about this mock-up. So if you guys have watched my channel for a minute, then who did I just kick? Hi, Klaus. I didn't know you were under there. I'm so sorry. I just felt my foot hit like soft, and I was like, oh, hi. Anyways, so the last cosplay I worked on, I felt like it really didn't fit right and stuff, so I've been getting really into, and also from Infinity Nikki cosplay, the feedback the judges gave me was they didn't like my patterning. They thought it didn't look very good. So that's something I'm working on more. That hurt to say out loud, not gonna lie. I properly learn patterning, so I've been reading through this book. I'm only on like page 40 something. But, and then I try to go through these digitally as I go through the book. I'm just kind of like learning how everything works. On my mock-ups, because I'm not actually lining them, I'm just going to be pressing in the edges so they'll look finished, and I can estimate how much seam allowance I'll need. Oh, hi, Klaus. Hi. How are you? Hello. Wee. Hello. How's my buddy? I love you so much. So I feel pretty good about the top piece, but my only concern is her shirt tucks in, and I've seen some people accomplish this via a bodysuit. I personally can't stand bodysuits, so I would ideally not do it with a bodysuit. I'm trying to find the best lighting, but the gap in the middle works out perfectly. It also doesn't, I don't want it super fitted because she has a little bagginess naturally when she tucks it in. I'll make the pants and see where the waistband sits, but I'll probably have to extend this down so they're all at the same level on bottom, you know? We only have one fit issue, and that is this is out too much, but that can be resolved if I just add a little dart type thing right there. So now I'm going to start on the mock-up for the cape, which should be perfect because I made the pattern myself. Alright guys, I did the mock-up for the capelet, and it mostly looks pretty good, fits nicely here, all of that, right? But I am going to likely edit it a little and then put out a final version. Alright guys, so next step in this process is I'm going to start gluing the pieces together.
Ah! Retake! Now we're even.
Alright, so the glue is dried on here. There's one thing I'm a little concerned about. There is some wiggle to it, which I think is because of the metal in the middle. I'm doing this in super duper thin coats because it is really cold out. It's only going to get colder. So I'm doing it like this. Okay guys, the unfortunate part about doing a projector for all of my pattern cutting, or most of it, is that I have to, I'm cozy tonight, I'm sporting my college hoodie. I have to usually go back onto my computer, adjust everything in Illustrator and Clo, and then re-upload it to the Ditto, and then I have the piece. My arm's so sore. I was sword fighting. I was fencing earlier and I got hit really hard in the arm. Anyways, so I had to do that, and that took a lot of time. So here I am now. I'm gonna start with the pants because I dread pants the most. I'm really anxious, honestly. I'm pretty nervous about pants and sewing pants, so I'm gonna start with that part because I think while I feel the least rushed is probably the best time to start a part of a project that's the hardest. And the shirt and cape and stuff that I find easier I can bring in later because I won't feel, because then when I feel rushed, it's the stuff that comes naturally to me that I think I'll be strongest with. We're gonna start with assembling the front and back pieces, so we have to add the pockets to them and stuff before putting all the pants pieces together, if that makes sense. Okay, I added pockets to the front because I thought when I'm doing prejudging, the judges will be like, oh my god, there's pockets. There's my iron throwing a fit. So there's some pockets. So I can also put my phone away when I'm walking around the convention or whatever. Hopefully they'll be tucked away and I can access them. But they turned out really well. It's hard to see because it's dark. It's finally time to start painting Maelle's rapier. So I will be starting with the lightest shade of like gold and shading it later. But for now, it'll just be pretty much the gold paint because it's going to take a lot of time and I got to give it proper drying time and all that. Alright guys, I'm getting back on making the Maelle pants after like a week off. I had to work on another cosplay project. Not really cosplay, but general costume. Okay guys, this is where it's gonna get a little bit strange. It's hard to see on black fabric too, but I've marked out the buttonholes, right? But the thing is, Maelle only has 2 buttons at the top of her pants. Honestly, I don't want this all hanging open and it's not enough for a zipper. So I'm gonna be adding It is time for me to wrap the sword, so I'm going to be wrapping the handle with this cotton brown wrap stuff or cord that I found. I'm going to be putting down some super glue and then pressing the initial part down and then just wrapping around and putting down beads of super glue underneath until I get to the end. As the glue took off a bunch of my nail polish. More of a cosplay project and less just making pants. There's a donkey across the street from me. Do not mind it if you hear weird sounds. I swear it's not my neighbors. Alright, so I have the front pieces together as you saw and the back pieces. Like I said, this is where it's gonna get weird. So Maelle has these 2 leg wrap things. She has a silver one and a gold one. And the silver one is going to be a ribbon that I tie around the leg. but it's going to need loops to stay in place, because let's be so for real here, if you tie something around your thigh, it is not staying up. That is video game or anime physics, and I will not hear otherwise. And then also I'm feeling very lazy today, so I didn't do makeup, didn't do really anything. It's Sunday. Also, she has a gold leg band, and this is just a perfect circle around her leg. So I'm gonna make each of these pieces, the gold and silver pieces, and then I am going to, while the pants are in 2D still, if that makes sense, like one flat plane, I'm gonna sew them up the middle so I can lay them out flat when I need to. I realized that, oh, this lighting is horrendous. So I realized that the angle at which this gold goes isn't going to be like a flat angle. It's going to be a little bit tilted up. That's because in order to match it up at the ends, it's the angle at which the pants go up. So yeah, that's how we're gonna be doing it.
Light.
Big light, yeah. Thank you. It was unsettling me. I do not like the big overlight.
Yeah.
Alright guys, here's where we're leaving off with pants for now before we go and cut a bunch of fabric and do other stuff, because we're waiting on the silver to do the other pant leg. I did sew up the side seam of this one. I think it turned out quite nice. It is really odd to me that the top stitching is black. Like, it feels illegal, but I'm gonna do it because that's the game. I'm just gonna put, like, when I do a build book, I'm gonna put the photo of it next to it. Alright guys, so I did the silver and then it just ended up looking really messy. So my camera was dead though when it was. So I'm picking this all off and I'm gonna try something different. To try to get it to look better, hopefully. Instead of a messy set of pleats, I'm going to try to overlap several pieces of fabric, folding over each one so it looks like a... I am so happy I went back and redid this because it looks so much better now. I kind of like mummy wrapped it, but I sewed each layer on. I really am happy with the way that turned out. So now I'm going to add on the waistband. Okay, I'm trying to find the light here. So the pants are done. Off the back. But I'm really proud of them. Here's my phone if I don't fold it for size. And if I do fold my phone, pretty nice, right? It's gonna be really convenient at the con. This snaps in here too, so it only appears as 2 buttons. I am really freaking happy with this. This turned out great. I think my fake folded over effect worked too. My fake wrap effect. Okay guys, before we cut into all these patterns, we are going to make a pattern for the boot covers. So I'm going to saran wrap around my boots that I'll be wearing, and then I'm going to put a masking tape around them. And someone's gonna help me with this. Guys, I'm finally cutting the capelet fabric, and I have been so nervous about this for so long now. Because it's like, I don't know, I'm using leftover fabric for it, and I've been nervous that like I won't have enough because I didn't go about that properly. Wish me luck. Alright guys, since all my fabric's cut, I'm gonna be doing a lot of things with fabric paint for this, but she has this gold detail, I'll put photos up here, all over her jacket. And I bought some gold vinyl, and I'm going to make this detail. Alright guys, I'm gonna spend some time weeding these out. So they are ready. Wow, I tried laying them flat and I guess that didn't really work out. So they're ready to press on. And then I'm gonna press them onto the base of the fabric. Alright guys, the big overhead light has been on, if you haven't noticed. This is how I keep myself awake when it's after work and I'm exhausted and I have to keep working on stuff. So it's time for the cape. The cape is kind of complicated, but I'm just gonna go at it. I'm gonna start off by figuring out how things are gonna go together, and then I'll go from there. There's a interfacing, there's a lining, and there is the outer layer, of course. So I'm gonna kind of sort things out for a minute, and then I'm going to look at the mock-up I did. I labeled all the pieces really well too. I'm gonna start off with the least intimidating part, which is just putting the sleeve together. There's a gray middle, and then there's two black outer edges, and each of those is top stitched. So I'm gonna work on assembling that. Alright, the sleeve is done. I'm going to start working on the inner section. I've split the cape into the inner section and outer section. Inner section is the section that the sleeve is going to attach to. I'm not going to make bias tape because I realized that the silver fabric I have to make bias tape with wouldn't have matched the current bias tape, which is done well, so I wouldn't want to mess that up. So I actually found the same exact bias tape in 1/4 of an inch instead of 1/2 an inch, so it'll be narrower, which is what I want. Yes, Bobo? You make a good point, sir. Alright, I'm going to attach the lining to the outer layer now. I'm just going to base the edges for now and finish them off because my bias tape isn't here yet. I'm going to explain this for a second because I don't think I have explained it yet. But we have this side of the jacket, right? And this is going to button over like 1 inch of the jacket. So how this will go on to come back here. And then this ends up layered over this side, which is what we want. Clarice, did you know biting my ankles is actually a form of harassment, and we do not tolerate harassment in this house? Why are you purring? I just remembered clipping corners on curves is a thing, and I feel so stupid. Okay, now I'm gonna finish all the edges in bias tape like I did on the skirt. Okay, so the main part of this cape is finally done. I'm definitely losing some fire with making this. It feels like it's just been so long. I think I've said that a gazillion times already. Hello, Clarice. So now we are going to be adding the collar. I'm actually pretty nervous about this part because in the mock-up it fit poorly and I had to redo it. Alright guys, I'm calling the next piece her overskirt. It's a skirt that goes over the pants that I just made. It would be pretty simple, but the lining has like a white quilted thing to it. So I'm gonna actually interface the lining right now, and then I'm going to put on the interfacing and sew these white lines all across it because I feel like if I don't interface it, 'cause it's a stretch twill, it's gonna move around too much. Now I have to hand stitch on the back of all these bias tapes so the stitching doesn't show up. Alright, quick editing note because my laundry machine's running right now, but I redid all the bias tape on this overskirt piece. I don't think I have a clip of me having the mental breakdown I did when I realized how hideous it looked, but the bias tape that I originally used was 1/2 inch and it was like really thick, and bulky, and it just didn't look right. It didn't look like the game. I didn't realize. Ow, Klaus, he's biting my ankles again. Anyways, yeah, complain all you want, sir. So I didn't realize until I went to go do the cape, and the cape was like, it just looked so much better than the skirt with the thinner bias tape. I don't know if I got on recording the moment that I realized that, and to be honest, I have a lot of footage. There's so much that I cut out. This was a 150-ish hour project, so my cats think I'm talking to them right now. It's really funny. So I just can't find a lot of things, or to be honest, I don't have a limited editing time, so I'm just kind of getting through what I can, and I am tired out. But I swapped out the bias tape eventually from 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch bias tape to make it look better. Picking the bias tape took a ton of time, and it was really tricky. You'll notice it from the final product video versus like while I'm making the skirt or overskirt, so I wanted to make that note. Back to the video. I'm gonna add the buttons and the chain that she has around there. I'm gonna start with making covered buttons because I don't have enough black buttons, and I couldn't find the buttons at Michael's either. I think they were all out. So I'm gonna make some buttons. Seems to be the case these days. And then we're going to figure out how to assemble all of that. Guys, this bottom piece is done. We can finally start her purple shirt. I have no clue where I left off yesterday, but now on the sleeve we are going to be starting. Hi, Klaus. I'm going to be sewing on this patch, top and bottom, and leaving the middle open. I made it like pretty durable, and then we'll be slipping a ribbon through here. I also had to make a ribbon, and that'll be like the golden arm wrap. Okay, now I'm going to start on the main bodice area, finally, of the purple shirt. I'm going to start with putting the piping in between all the pieces. Alright, now I'm going to start to put all the pieces together that I just made. Guys, I'm going to try everything I've made so far on before adding details to this, because this piece is done. But I want to try it on, and I have to get the measurements for how far apart to place the buttons, and I won't know that until I see how high up the pants come and all of that, so I'm gonna do that really quick. Coffee? Hello, sir? Oh, goodbye, sir. What was that? Start the second boot cover, and I haven't talked all day, and now I'm going to break down what I'm doing more for the boot cover before I go to HEMA, hence why my hair is braided. Here's how the first one turned out, which is actually I'm pretty happy with. I wanted this vinyl shiny material for this shine and all that. I stuffed this with a bunch of muslin, and I think this looks pretty good. If it's perfect, it stays up. I will be doing like a fit test day where I do a photo shoot for a few hours in the cosplay, so I could troubleshoot any areas that need it. Here's the back zipper. So initially what I'm doing is I'm taking these center pieces and covering the edge in bias tape. You can see how the bias tape moves still. And then I probably could have done piping for this, but my brain just wasn't working that way, I guess. And then I'm sewing the two edge pieces on, adding the zipper, sewing this piece on top of this piece. And these lines are all vinyl. Film any of the first boot cover because I wasn't confident that it would actually work, you know? Alright guys, we got two boots. And they actually turned out really well. I'm pretty happy with these. For boot covers, these are pretty good. I do think it could have been better if I would have glued down onto the boots, but $50 when I'm about to go to this convention is kind of stretch, so I'd prefer to not do that. I kind of don't want to spend the $50 to ruin a pair of boots for cosplay that I'll wear a few times a year. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna dig up my glove pattern and just cut away, sew around the edges. I do have to put vinyl on the gloves, so that could take a second. Cosplay is done. I do feel like I filmed a little less at the end because I honestly was a little tired of it, not be seeing how that looks with it, but I'm gonna do a full try on. And there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this very long video. I'm assuming it's gonna be like a 30-minute video right now. I don't know how much footage I have, but I do know it's more than I would like to edit. So I'm gonna try to edit it over time so I don't just get messy with it. But I'm gonna go alter the shirt, and then this is pretty much a place I'm happy with, besides that brooch that's drying outside right now. I think this all looks great. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time.